Hello, artists and animators. Julie Roulette, aka Everange, is a
Hi.
French artist who graduated from ECV Bordeaux with a master's degree and is currently working as a full-time freelance illustrator and animator. She was also selected as a Toon Boom Ambassador in 2025. We invited Julie onto the live stream to discuss her practice as a freelance artist, as well as take us on a tour of the design and 2D effects that go into animating a mouth-watering bowl of ramen. So, Julie, welcome to the stream.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone.
All right, so let's get started with a quick question. Julie, can you introduce yourself with your name and your path to your current role?
Yeah. So first, again, thank you, Mike, for this talk and show. So my name is Julie Roulet. I'm a French artist. I've been passionate about drawing since childhood. I followed the general academic path until high school, and then, as you told people, I choose to pursue my study at ECV in Bordeaux, so in France. And I just graduated in 2024 with a master degree into the animation. During my time at ECV, I got the opportunity to make two internship. One in background props design in the show Azuro and the Dragon Squad, and the second one on 2D animation on a production I cannot tell anything yet. And after the two internships, I choose to launch my career as a 2D freelancer. And it's already been 6 months since I began this journey. And aside from that, I've been active on social networks, so as the username of Everunch, mainly of Instagram, and by posting every day, every week's my heart, I've been able to grow a community of passionate people, engaged people, really kind, and I'm truly grateful for.
That is so cool. And I think a big part of that too is just that the work you do is so ambitious and interesting. By the way, congratulations on getting your master's degree. What was your experience like at ECV Bordeaux?
Thank you, Mike. CV gave me a lot of keys to work on. The teaching team and the industry professional who came for master classes were really kind and supportive for most of them. And I will never forget the name of some of them who gave me truly helpful advice and who helped me stay focused on my work. Even if I had to admit, I was pretty stubborn back then on my artistic choices. um, but during those 5 years, I was very, how to say that, motivated. Like, I really worked hard and to try to go as far as I could on most of the assignments we got. I tried to give my best in everything I could, even if, like a lot of students, I had to give I had to give up on some nights. So unfortunately, that leads me to two burnouts during the studies. So if some students are listening to me, please don't skip nights. Like, this is really important for your health, your work efficiency, your health, simply. So please don't skip nights. Aside from that, I really enjoy taking part in events organized by my school or some teachers. And I really appreciated the kindness and support between some students in different promos. So yeah, that was pretty tough, but a good experience most of the time.
Yeah, I think the point too of like not skipping sleep
Mhm.
is really important because it can feel like, oh, if I just stay up a little bit later, I can get this scene done. No, that's a trap.
Yeah,
You really
definitely.
need to sleep, or else the next day you are going to not be as good at your work.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's really cool about animation school, I know that there are artists who go to animation school and artists who are more self-taught. But the cool thing about like attending a school like ECV Bordeaux is it's this artificial community full of people who are at the same stage of life that you're in, pursuing the same interests, and you all have more or less the same schedule. So it's like really easy to make friends with like the
Yeah.
coolest people. Was that like
Uh,
your experience?
yeah, because it's natural when you're in a class in art school. It's like a typical school. So obviously, you ended up making some friends, and that's really helpful for your future because those friends will be your future colleagues. So I think that's one of the biggest qualities of a school is that you can build a strong network, or it's easier to build strong networks when you're in school than when you're self-taught artist.
Yeah. So what does your typical day look like as a freelance artist, and what sort of clients do you prefer to take on?
Um, First, I would like to point out the fact that as a junior to the animator who just graduated, I've not yet proved myself in the industry, so it's quite challenging. And I will be lying if I didn't say that my visibility on social networks didn't tell me, because it definitely does. So my typical day is planned in advance, and I actually show you. I've got a to-do list for each day in my weeks that I prepare in advance, and this kind of schedule help me stay organized and help me manage my free times as a freelancer, because as a freelancer you have all the time you want, so you can easily fall in procrastination if you're not prepared enough. Regarding the client question, as far as I know, I always or almost always worked with individuals such as YouTubers, musicians, writers. So I really enjoyed all the project they gave me, because usually people contact me for my universe art style, and if not, the liberty of creation given by the projects are always inspiring. I always ended up find inspiration in all the projects, so I really love all the projects. And when I'm not under contract, because it can happen really often when you're starting as a freelance. I usually use the time to produce content for myself and my social networks, or I can also spend most of my time searching for potential clients on LinkedIn or other platforms. So that's it.
Yeah. So, Julie, one of the reasons why we invited you to live stream was to discuss this bowl of ramen that you designed, animated, and composited. And the first thing I want to ask is, what was your goal with this project?
Um, First, I want to clarify that this project was a school assignment, so we had to create three shots, if I remember correctly, and the three shots were a character cooking, and so the goal was to focus on acting and scale shots. So I personally saw it as an opportunity to challenge myself, creating a clean, polished, uh, yeah, a clean food animation. So I did complete the three shots as scheduled for the assignment, but I was more focused all the time on this shots. So that this is the third shots in my assignment. So the ramen bowl. And well, technically speaking, I call it a ramen, but I know, or I might think that this is not a traditional ramen dish. But since I took inspiration from it, I just kept the name. and just kept ramen bowl.
Yeah,
But
I just
yeah.
want to say too, actually, before I get into it, do you want to play the scene so our audience can see exactly what we're talking about too?
Oh yeah, sure. Um, Actually, I can play the render, so you won't see the nuts. You won't see the blending nuts. So here is the shot.
It's very good. What I really like about this scene is it's very short, but it showcases all the things that you're very good at. You know, it's possible, like in a animated scene, to just draw a static image of a bowl of soup, and that's fine. But seeing it animated in this way gives it a sense of realism and weight.
Mhm. Thank you.
Um, I wanted to ask, Julie, what materials did you use as reference when working on this project?
If I remember, the main reference that inspired me was the noodle cooking scene in the movie Flavor of Youth, because the speckle highlights each ingredients, the texture of each ingredients, the ethics of the soup, everything looked really delicious, basically delicious. Then there was also the thing cook yeah, the food scene cooked by the dad in Turning Red. So even
Oh,
if it's yeah, I think we all remember this scene, because even if it's 3D animation, the way it was intentionally staged as a culinary had, with the lightning and the other cinematic choices, it was truly inspiring. And then I also watch a lot of food sakuga on YouTube, and that helped me better understand how different studios and animators interpreted food and showed their intention. And so I would say, when it comes to tell which reference will be the best to talk about food, I would say I can give concrete example, but from my point of view, the best references you can find are the one that make you absolutely taste the dish. But that's just my point of view.
that's That's a really good way of putting it. I mean, you mentioned Turning Red, and as an adult who grew up in Toronto in the 90s, Turning Red is very familiar to me. Um, what is your relationship like with ramen noodles?
Well, it's true that I didn't mention it, but I choose to animate ramens because at the time I was actually experiencing cooking ramens in my real life, but only with some dish, a few dish like fried tofu, noodles, the soup, eggs too. So that's why I choose to animate ramens, because at the time I was craving ramens, homemade ramens.
Yeah, it's awesome. Um, so can you take us on a tour of the different elements that went into this bowl of ramen?
Oh yeah, of course. Um, I think I will show you the nav view. Uh, so
I have to say too, I really enjoy seeing everything like separated onto different backdrops. That
mhm.
makes things very readable. Yeah, I know this is like a personal project that you're just working on yourself. But like when you're collaborating on a team, it's always really good to see things organized.
Thank you. Yeah, organization is really important. So as you can see, it there's some shading that isn't on the file, because even if I could animate it, animating on Harmony, I have some hold habits that make me use After Effects, because I'm just used to it on my personal project. But I could animate every shadows on Harmony easily, thanks to the node. I didn't use advanced nodes. It's really only the same things like blending modes, deformations. And yeah, that's pretty all. Pegs, for example. So that's all. So I can show you some ingredients. Like for example, you have the soup. To give the depth of the soup, I just made a mask with. Let me show you. So you have the soup, and you have the oil, I think. Yeah, and you have the depth that we can't really think. Like this. We'll be
I
able
didn't
to
even
see
clock that you
now.
had a separate layer for the oil too. That's cool.
For the noodle, as you can see, I haven't animated frame by frame. I just made one second frame and I applied a deformation tool. So you can have it here. Look. As you can see, I just needed, I made a simple deformation tool. And since I didn't need it to squash too much the noodle, that was enough. Because when you squash too much, it's weird. But I didn't need it, so it's alright. As for example, the carrots, it wasn't a deformation, it wasn't frame by frame either, it was just by peg. I just made a second frame of carrots, and I just
That's so
each frame
cool.
replace it by a peg. Well, I have to control Z. But you still have the soup made on a mask frame by frame. Let me see. Up. Yeah. So you can see the soup here is frame by frame, but it's on a mask. So it's easier like that. And you have also the lights. Let me show you in render mode. The lights are pretty simple to make. um, I just made some render shapes. I applied a blending mode. The blending mode was the overlay mode. Then I duplicate it, and I also apply a blending mode, and I applied Gaussian blur, so it gives the highlight effects. As for the fried tofu, I created a personal brush. I can actually show you, I think.
Oh, very cool.
Brush are really easy to create. Pencil a bit less, but brush are really easier. So let me show you. This is my brush, and it
Hmm.
helped me make the texture of the fried tofu. And so with some blending modes, such as, let me search for my tofu here. Here it is. Um, I will show you gradually. So here's the tofu. Just a simple line art and color art. Really, there isn't easier since that. Then you had texture. I had a blending mode for the shadow texture here, because I separated each face on line art, color art, and overlay. Then you had some lights, and you had the soup on the mask. And for the tofu, it just took. Oh, my bad. Um, mm, I can show it, but yes, as a noodle, it's a simple deformation.
Oh, very cool.
So I think I basically made a big overview. Oh, and the cibule is a mix. I don't know how to say that. The green onion, I will say that, is a mix between pegs and traditional animation, because as you can see, let's see. Um, mm, mm, mm. Oh yeah, you see this one, the green one here, is turning, so it's traditional animation, but it's also animated with a peg as the others. So that's pretty much everything. So as you can see, it's not incredibly difficult. You just have to be organized and to plan in advance how you will animate everything, and you can mix up traditional cutout animation as you want. So yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I think there are so many things I want to talk about this scene too. Um, You mentioned that it's, like, very simple, but, like, blending nodes are really, like, in my opinion, the bread and butter of compositing. You know, you can apply highlights and shadows and transparency
Mhm.
effects, by using the different blending modes. How did you get into compositing? Like, what was your introduction to it? 'Cause I find that a lot of people rarely go into school for compositing, but kind of, like, fall into it like, "Hey, can you composite this scene?" Sure, yeah, I can do that."
Uh, well, I'm not exactly sure to understand your question. So you're asking
Oh,
me how did I
m
learn compositing?
my
How?
question is, like, how did you learn about compositing? Like, what was your
Oh,
introduction there?
I guess I always made compositing so far in my animations, but on After Effects. And when I realized that compositing on Toon Boom was basically the same, but with a different organization. Like in Toon Boom, we have a node view, but the blending modes were the same. Like you have multiply, overlay, or like in Photoshop, for example. So for me, it was pretty instinct natural, I guess, because the blending modes are pretty much the same between Toon Boom Harmony, Photoshop, After Effects, and so it's always the same choice of. I mean, you can make different compositing, but for my own personal projects, I always make the same compositing. So I know that I will put one shadow somewhere, one highlight somewhere, and so I know which blending mode to use. Usually, it's overlay, color dodge, for example, hard light if needed, but yeah, it's not difficult to learn compositing because if you know how to use blending modes in Photoshop, for example, as an illustrator, you will know to use blending nodes in the node view into Moon Harmony or in compositions in After Effects. It's pretty much the same everywhere. Just the form was a bit different. So that's pretty much everything.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Another thing too that I was really struck by, you know, like you didn't just animate the carrots and the bits of green onion bobbing in the broth, the noodles, the fried tofu, but you animated it like so realistically that they all move at like different rates. How did you think about it in terms of 2D FX animation for this project? Like, what was your approach to making everything look very realistic?
First, things there weren't many ingredients. Like it's only green onions, noodles, fried tofu, carrots, and the soup. I really tried to focus on volume and texture, and to give my best to make it look appetizing. But since I didn't had much time, because it was a nice assignment, I had to figure out a compromise for the animation. I couldn't animate everything traditional way. So the ingredients with advanced textures will be animated in a cutout way with deformation tools or pegs, while the soup with flat, pretty much. Yeah, it's flat. So I decided to animate it as a traditional animation, frame by frame. Um, because yeah, in the other hand, the soup was a liquid, so it had to adapt on each volume. So that's why this was the only one ingredient that was really important to be animated in 100 animation. uh, yeah, yeah, it really took a lot of time to animate the soup because you really have to focus on the volume you gave to each ingredient frame by frame, and that's what took me most of my time. Animate the soup and the noodle, especially because you really had to be careful of each frame and to adapt it to the main soup here. So this is how I played every 2D effects, I will say.
I know 2D effects artists who are like really serious about like studying physics and will like read books about like um like fluid mechanics basically.
Mm.
And then I also know like 2D effects artists who will just like find clips of water moving until they like instinctively just know how it works. What's your approach? Are you like more of the like I want to know the physics, I want to know how this works, or
Mm,
do you just like look at a lot of reference material until you understand it?
uh, well, for this one, think since I didn't have much time, I didn't really took the time to learn the liquid physics. So, well, yeah, for assignment, I just animated like that. I will say because I was a student back then, so I was like, yeah, it's all right. I'm still a student. I can make mistakes. So I didn't really
I
study.
want to be clear, that's not a mistake. I don't think either approach is wrong. I think it's really interesting that there are people who have very different approaches, and they both kind of work.
Well, I'm glad if it works. I'm glad because it was my first time, and I think there's a lot of mistakes that professional could spot, or even I think more beginners people. But I would say, yeah, it would be best to start learning physics before.
Um, I also really like seeing scenes that combine traditional animation with keyframes on pegs, because I think one thing that Harmony is good at that people don't always realize is you can kind of do both, right? You can use keyframes and rigs where it's fast, but then, like, if it makes the scene look better, you can also draw.
Yeah, and actually, like you can really combine every kind of animation, even 3D. I know we can include 3D objects and animate them with specs, but yeah, you don't have to restrain yourself in a special kind of animation. If you want to combine traditional and cutout, actually you can. You can do everything you want. You don't have to stay in a special case because some kind of animation can be easier in time, in a kind of time saving. So don't restrain, don't restrain yourself, and try all the possibility you can try.
So, do you have any advice, Julie, for animators who are interested in animating scenes with food?
Um, yeah, I would say from what I learned is that on most ingredients, if you put some highlights, like you can see the little lights here or the highlights here on the noodle. So if you put some highlights, you can give on most ingredients because some ingredients don't need it, but you can give the feeling that the food looks rather fresher or more oiled. So it's a good way to make it appear more appetizing. So don't forget highlights. It can really change everything in your way of in your food.
Yeah, I think when we were emailing earlier too, you were mentioning that like a thing that you thought about were specular highlights. Do you want to talk a little bit about like what that is technically?
Highlights. Oh, it's very simple. It's really the little lights you can hear. You can see on things, but only shining things. Like as I say, all ingredients or what can I show? I don't have
Yeah,
anything with me, but
the
like
way
that.
I was taught was
Yeah.
that it's the reflective dot that you
Ah.
get from when like a bright light is pointed at something shiny.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's actually
They're very clear on the
something.
carrots too, I think, right?
Sorry, I
They're
didn't.
very like clear on the carrots too, I think. Like they're
Yeah.
very visible on the carrots.
Yeah, indeed. You can see it on the carrots here, and so it's supposed to give the feeling that it's oil or the soup was on it not too long ago. So yeah, it's helpful you. with the texture. It's not an advanced texture. You can animate it really quickly, but it can really change the look of your food.
Yeah, no, I think finding those things that like don't take a lot of effort, but if you notice it, if it's a detail, then it makes it just that much better.
Yeah.
Julie, as someone who does a lot of freelance animation, do you advise for freelancers who are looking for work?
If I will give some freelance advice, the first one will be organize in your schedule. So you could optimize your work. You could allow it could allow you some chill time also, and you won't lose yourself in procrastination. Um, the second advice I will could give, it's pretty much the same but in different area. It's to be organized in your administrative stuff, like the task regarding your friend's statue, the contracts, the quotations, the invoice. Uh, if you have them in advance and really organized in your PC or phone, you can gain a lot of time and you can have a clear mind on your business when it comes to declare your incomes. It's also very important to be organized in your administrative task. If your freelance activity is regulated by your country, like in France, for example. Um, and finally, if I could give a third advice, oh, I got two advice more. Um, when you begin, you have to overcome shyness. I know it's complicated, but you really have to overcome this, and you have to learn to market yourself, to go to people, talk to people, and you have to constantly be searching for potential client. Because when you start, especially if you're a beginner, a freshly graduated student, you won't have a lot of contacts, a lot of clients. So you have to be prepared to spend most of your time searching for clients. And finally, don't be invincible. Really, if you can show your heart, show it. Show it to everywhere, like on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok. Show the world your heart. Show the world that you exist. Because if you don't show your heart, people won't be aware that your friend's activity exists. So don't be shy and show your heart, because there will always be someone who will like your work. So don't hesitate to post your heart. And I think that is all the advice I could say right now.
I think that's awesome advice. Because I think for a lot of artists, right, the reason why you get into animation, or at least one of the reasons, is you can show your art and you don't need to sort of be there. You're just like, look at my work, don't look at me. But I also think it's really important to say, like, hey, here's what I did, and here's how it worked, because otherwise people don't know the work that you're making, and then they might not be able to think of you for those opportunities. I also think freelancing can be really difficult because a lot of people go into freelancing because they're seeking some amount of independence so they can focus on their craft. And then they wind up doing things that are not the craft, like sales and negotiation, invoicing. Uh, Julie, did you have a mentor on the business side to give you like guidance on how to freelance?
um a mentor, I was a mentor, but I had a teacher who gave us a lot of advice in France activities. So I started learning France from this person, because in France you have different France statues, and it could be pretty complicated to understand at first. So it was a great start for me to understand how it worked. But after that, I would say I watch a lot of YouTube videos, Instagram posts also, but didn't really get a specific mentor for that.
Yeah, we got a question in our audience. So one of our viewers wants to know, They teach animation and Toon Boom software at Northern Arizona University, and they want to know what was your favorite assignment in school.
Animation or oh no, not only animation. I really love everything in art. At first I didn't like compositing, but I ended up really like it a lot. So, but I would say my favorite assignment was in illustration, concept art, to the background and to the animation. And it was when you have the liberty of creativity. Like there is an assignment, but you can express yourself with your own art style or own universe or own ideas. So this is my favorite assignment, I would say.
Yeah, I noticed that Joshua Mosley in the chat has some questions about compositing, and wanted to know, did you use the dither node in the shot, or also like what were you thinking about in terms of color and visual artifacts?
I didn't understand. What did I use as a node?
Just if there was like a sort of dithering effect, like to create sort of using like visual noise to it kind of adds a little bit of like what is perceived as detail.
Um, for this animation, no, it was pretty basic. I really only use Gaussian blur, blending mods. That pretty much everything I used for the compositing. Even of After Effects, I only used or perhaps glow. I don't remember, or I just duplicated as I show you in the with the highlight here. I just had to duplicate, put a Gaussian blur,
Right.
put blending mode, and that does the stuff for this animation.
It looks really good. What were you considering about for the color palette? Because I think like the green really pops on the kind of orange brown soup.
Well, for the color palette, I really didn't um, think much about it. I just put what was right for me. And the green, for me, the green onion was something to add some diversity in the color, indeed. But as you can see, everything is pretty much the same color. I didn't think much about that.
Okay. You gave us a quick demo earlier about the deformers that were on the noodles and the fried tofu. What deformer was that you used to link them together?
Oh, it was just a simple deformer, uh, like the one you can find here. Uh, Look, so you just have to click somewhere and to maintain the click elsewhere, and so it will give the deformer this kind of texture. I don't remember exactly the name because it's been a year, but it's one of the simpler, the most simple deformer you can use.
Right.
Uh,
I think maybe the curve deformer.
yeah, yeah, I think that's
Okay.
in the,
It looked really good. Um, is there anything else about this scene that you'd like to highlight? I don't think we talked about the bull very much, but I think that it mostly just slid into the screen from off screen. I also noticed that the character's hands are a little bit claw-like. So is this a panther or tiger sort of character?
um, so well, it's actually a panda, the
All
one
right.
in Kung Fu Panda, because as I told before, this was an assignment when you had to create a character cooking, but we had to choose a character who was already existing. So I just chose Po from Kung Fu Panda because it was in the universe of Ramen's. Um, or it matched the bowl of ravens, and so this is why I think I should him. So yeah, this is Poe's hand from Kung Fu Panda.
All right. And Julie, where can our audience go to see more of your work?
Actually, you can see my work, especially personal works or old school works, on my Instagram. So you just have to type the name of Everange with a three at first in the instead of a e. But I'm also on TikTok um, and Twitter, but less active. I'm most active on Instagram when you really can find a lot of personal works, school works, and sometimes collabs if people want to collaborate.
All right. Well, thank you, Julie, for taking time to discuss your project on our show and tell session. And thank you to our audience for tuning in live. If you'd like to post gifs of mouthwatering animated food, you might be interested in trying the latest release of Toon Boom Harmony. Artists can download a 21-day trial from our website at toonboom.com. And if you're around next week, check out our show and tell session with Ren Petrov on Thursday, May 22nd. We'll be interviewing Ren about their animated chase scene, A Starter on the Loose. And I don't think you're going to want to miss it. So thank you all for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.
Bye bye.